Hello, I'm Dawn Overfield, and with us today is Amanda Makepeace, the winner of this year's Chesley Award for Best Paperback Cover Illustrations. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you. Yeah, so quite a weekend. It was very exciting.
So we got a few questions here. Tell us about yourself as an artist. How did you get interested in art and pursue being a professional artist?
Well, it's probably a similar story to many. I always wanted to be an artist. I always did. And I actually grew up watching my mother draw. And she's not an artist. She's not a professional artist, but I definitely think I probably got some of that innate talent from her. And I just thought it was magic as a child. You know, I would ask her to draw one of my favorite toys, and seeing her take a pencil and recreating it on paper, I just thought it was absolutely amazing. And that's where it began. I wanted to do that too. And so, you know, some of the first things I ever drew were horses, especially my Breyer horses that I collected as a kid. And then it just kept going from there. And I didn't actually, well, I'll say this. I was an art major in college for a year and then realized I really didn't like art school. They wanted us to kind of do these things that I didn't really want to do. So I changed majors and still got my degree and was still making my art. But it wasn't until I would say my late 20s that I actually started truly pursuing it as a career. And at the time, I was actually living in the UK. I was living in London. And a friend of mine who we're still quite close, he is he's an author of various computer language books like Python and those types of things that I don't know much about. But he said, he said to me, you know, I'd love it if you would paint some artwork for the cover of my next edition of this book. And it was Developing Java Software, 3rd edition. And I said, sure. And that was my first paycheck from a publisher, from Wiley and Sons. And from there, I think you almost kind of catch a bug. It's like, oh, wow, somebody's going to pay me for this thing I've created. And then you just kind of want to keep doing it. And for a long time, I really focused more on gallery work. And then I moved back to the US and slowly started kind of inching my way into fantasy and science fiction and illustration. And I don't know, it's like a domino effect. It just sort of takes off from there. As long as you're dedicated to it, I think it takes off, you know? Yeah, it's been an adventure. I have in many ways recreated myself several times as far as my art goes. I've explored abstract art. I've explored like nature art, like painting stones and leaves and wildlife, and then fantasy and science fiction. And, you know, I love traditional art and digital art. So yeah, I've got quite a mix of things that I pull from in my background.
Keeps it interesting and exciting to keep
it does, yeah. Yeah, it does, because, well, I'm one of those people that there were so many things that I loved. And when I changed degrees, it was like, what am I going to choose? You know, I love history. I love archaeology. I love geology. I love English, lit, and all these things. And yeah, I love a lot of stuff. And so it's kind of natural, I think, that I have done so many different things with my art over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to know everything, and I want to depict everything, and I want to see how this works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you land this particular assignment?
That actually, I guess it began about 3 years ago. I was contacted by David Steffen, the editor of the book. He had seen a digital painting of mine. It's actually a steampunk fox. And that actually, he licensed that for the 3rd volume of that same, the long list anthology. And he came back to me the next year and he's like, you know, would you like to do an original piece? I said, sure. And then that happened again last year. So we've known each other now, you know, for several years. And I feel like we have a really good working relationship. And he loves being a part of the creative process as well. So we had a lot of fun going back and forth about, you know, ideas for the cover. And I feel really blessed that he just kind of stumbled into my life. He found me on Twitter. Yeah.
Well, Twitter's good for something then.
It is.
Not just
I know.
arguments.
I know a lot of people are just like, wow, Twitter is just chaos. And it is chaos, but there are some nuggets of gold in there as well.
Yeah. There's good things. I think that's how it stays around. So how did you approach this particular assignment?
So this one, David was pretty open to ideas. And after about, I like to look through basically what I call my folder of ideas, which is numerous. And I stumbled upon a sketch that I had actually painted many years ago. And it was just a little airship in the sunrise and the clouds. And it was something I never took any further. And I started looking at it and thinking, there could be something more here. And I started thinking about giant cloudfish and adventure. And I just thought, you know, I have no idea if he's going to go for this idea or not. But, you know, I'm gonna show him the original sketch. And then I worked up a new sketch and he was like, he loved it instantly. You know, it just, even in the drawing form, it had this, I don't know, this sense of joy and lightheartedness and adventure. And yeah, he was behind it from the start. And so from there, I actually, you know, started researching catfish because I kind of wanted to model them off of, you know, kind of a cross between giant koi fish and catfish. And so that was a lot of fun. And then researching different ships. We went through actually quite a few different designs of the ship that is on the cover, different sail types. Yeah, this cover was actually one of the most fun I've had just because there was so much research behind it.
Yeah, getting to find all the information out. And yeah.
Yeah, just it was a lot of fun. So yeah.
And then that leads right into the what kind of research do you do question, because that's the next question.
Yeah. You know, it's some of these things I take reference photos of myself when I can. I like being able to incorporate things that I already have on hand, and I take a lot of reference photos. So even just reference photos of wood, you know, thinking about kind of, you know, the weathered look on the ship. But then, you know, there's others. Google is great for inspiration. Just, you know, people's fish photos from different universities too. Those are always great. There's a lot of resources online. And then I just kind of extrapolate, if that makes sense. And then some of it is spontaneous. You know, I'll look at a lot of different cloud reference photos. And I don't want to copy those photos. I just kind of want to copy the essence of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, to get an idea of the look of how different things look and then incorporate that into some new.
Exactly. And then, you know, and then I try to, you know, infuse even just a little touch of magic in there. So, you know, like, especially in the clouds that are around the hull of the ship and the dolphins there, I've put little bits of blue in there that you might not necessarily find in, you know, sunrise clouds, but it's just that little spark of something extra. Yeah, I enjoy the research part a lot. I think all artists do, though. I mean, you could research and research and research and just, Yeah. I have the folder that I actually have for this whole painting is just full of clouds, fish, boats. It's great.
Yeah, you can get kind of down a research rabbit hole
Oh
sometimes. And
yes,
yeah.
yes, oh yes, and just keep going. Even looking at the different sails, and you know, looking at, oh, you know, where do boats put the names on them? You know, some are on the hull, some are on the sails. You know, yeah, it got pretty crazy, crazy fun.
Yeah. So does working for a crowdfunded assignment differ from working a standard assignment for a publishing house? And how do those things differ?
It definitely does differ. You know, it's, you know, I wasn't as involved in the crowdfunding end of it as much, besides just, you know, promoting the project because I'm behind it, you know, 100%. Um, you know, but there's even differences in different crowdfunding projects. So like, for instance, David likes to have the art before the campaign begins, and he pays you before the campaign begins. It's not, you know, dependent on how well the campaign does. And I know not all crowdfunding projects are like that. Sometimes, you know, the artist's paycheck comes from what that campaign makes. And I really appreciate that on David's part, that, you know, he's buying this art for this project, and, you know, whether the project is successful or not, you get paid. So there is that, you know, and you get paid immediately. You know, some projects, whether even with a traditional publishing house, I mean, it depends with whether it's a large publisher or a small publisher, but, you know, you might not see payment right away.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's 30 days out or on date of publish. But I think when it's a crowdfunding project, you know, in my experience, you know, it's easy to get paid like right then. I don't know. And it nurtures a great relationship, I think, between, you know, the editors of these books, and not just fiction books, but also, you know, all the games that are being produced on crowdfunding now as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much of that right now. I don't know. It's a great opportunity, I think, especially if you're just trying to break into the field. Participating in crowdfunding projects, it's a great way to get your name out there. Great way for, you know, people to see your art on a larger scale,
Yeah.
than just traditional, maybe self-publishing. So, yeah.
And what upcoming projects are you working on?
Well, I can't talk about, I do have some commitments to conventions. And those are actually, believe it or not, kind of hush hush. So they like to have their art, you know, has to be a surprise,
Yeah,
brand new.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I am the artist guest of honor. I was going to be the artist guest of honor at Chattacon in January, but they have since postponed. So that's going to be the following year. And I am set to be the artist guest of honor at Mid-South Con in Memphis. But we'll see. That's in March. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So there is art behind the scenes for both of those. And I'm also working on a tarot project.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's exciting. And we'll see where that goes. Beyond that, I've kept myself a little bit more open this year. I'm working on some of my own things, and I don't know, trying to make more time for my own art. But it's hard, you know, people come to me and they're like, you know, oh, you know, are you taking commissions? You know, I'd love to have you on this project. And I'm like, oh, I love your project. But, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's a give and take.
You gotta, how much time can I commit to this thing? Yeah.
Yes, because my list of commitments it just seems to keep growing. No matter what, no matter if I'm like trying to, you know, cut back a little bit, it just keeps growing. And I guess that's a good thing. You know?
Yeah. It's probably better to have too much to do than not enough to do. So
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, definitely.
And do you have a dream project, something you'd really like to do that you haven't done and you'd like to talk about?
You know, most of my dream projects tend to be kind of my own projects. I have a Patreon that I've been working on,
Mm-hmm.
and that I haven't talked a whole lot about publicly. I think just because maybe I don't want to jinx it. But I am working on, it's basically a series of graphite art,
Oh, cool.
which is very different than a lot of my illustration work. And I am hoping to kind of push that down the line into a book. And it would actually be a book of my art and my poetry.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's happening. But as far as like publishing goes, you know, I do have in the back of my mind, I would love to do a cover for a comic. You know, something from, you know, Image Comics, maybe. They have so many good titles in their line. I think that would be fun. I don't think I would enjoy doing actual like the interiors, but I would love to have my name on a big name project for the cover.
It's a big cover piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that because there's so much in comics right now, especially. And most people don't know this. I do love comics. There is so much experimentation going on. Some of the covers that I'm seeing coming out are just absolutely amazing. And not what people think of as like kind of the traditional Marvel, DC comics of old, like, you know, a decade ago. You know, even in Marvel and DC now, even some of their covers are just, you know, so non-traditional looking. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's, you know, it's that bug in me to do something different.
Yeah. Just
You
keep
know,
trying new things.
yeah, to experiment, and I'm seeing what some of these covers that are being published right now, and it's like, oh wow, that just looks so fun.
It's something fun to do.
Yeah.
Let me get into that.
Yeah.
Toys.
Yeah, that's right. I know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be fun. I mean, that would be something like if somebody approached me to do, you know, like a variant cover of for something. Yeah, I would have a hard time saying no. Yeah, I would.
Let's see. I think that's the end of my notes. So it is. Is there anything else you'd like to add or say?
Well, people can find me at amandamakepeace.com. And yeah, my website has links to everything, literally everything. So, you know, my social media, that Patreon that I mentioned. It's also got all of my graphite art and my fantasy and sci-fi work. So yeah, it's an interesting place to go and explore if anybody's interested in knowing more.
Well, it was really nice talking to you today, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Sure,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciated it.
I appreciate it too. It's great to get out and see people and talk and share the things that we all love.